All right, we are 2-0 in our last two board member tier package picks on Pt.2. And the link for today's board member tier package pick is in the description section below. Now, if you're not signed up for that package, or if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm going to explain a little bit more about it in just a moment. But before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick time out and welcome you to the video. My name is Brock Page, and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. I also sell my personal bets on Brockpage.com, and I have packages on that website starting at just $1.99. Now, the purpose of these YouTube videos is to provide free informational sports betting content and also generate interest in signing up for a membership on my website. Now, you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do here on YouTube and what I do on my webpage. Well, it's certainly a great question, and I'm going to address that right now. What I do here on YouTube is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side and total. And what I do on my website is, well, I actually share with you which one of these free YouTube picks on my channel that I'm actually betting on personally. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and dive into our part 2 video here today. We're going to start off with George Mason versus Fordham, and that's going to be a 2:30 Eastern tip-off on Sunday, February 20th, 2022. George Mason is -5 on the road with the total at 131.5. Now, George Mason has done a really nice job of shooting the basketball this season. They're actually in the top 30 in the country in offensive three-point percentage. They're also averaging 73 points a game. Josh Odoro is scoring over 18.5 points a game along with 7 rebounds. Meanwhile, Deshaun Schwartz is scoring 15 points per contest himself, along with 4 boards and 2 assists. Now, Schwartz is also making 40% of his three-pointers. When it comes to covering the point spread in this one, George Mason is covering in 67% of their road games. They're taking on a Fordham team who may be going to work here without their leading scorer, Darius Quisenberry. The guard is currently battling some knee problems, so keep an eye on his status by tip-off. And their second leading scorer left the team a couple of weeks ago. Now, the Rams haven't tasted victory much in recent weeks. They're just 2-8 straight up in their last 10 outings. And they've really shot the basketball poorly. As a matter of fact, the Rams are making just 40% of their field goals, and they're also scoring only 67 points a game. Now, total-wise, Fordham's 60% to the over on their home court. They also saw 6 out of their last 10 meetings with George Mason get over the line. Meanwhile, the Patriots of George Mason, they're 8-4 to the over in their 12 ball games away from their home court. That includes neutral site games, by the way. I'm going to lean toward George Mason -5 and the over 131.5. Next matchup, it is going to be Cleveland State versus Wisconsin Green Bay, 3 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Now, Cleveland State's -10 with a total at 136.5. But despite being favored by double digits here, Cleveland State, they did fail to cover recently against the likes of Purdue, Fort Wayne, Illinois, Chicago, and Northern Kentucky. And when it comes to head-to-head meetings between these two schools, the Vikings lost 6 out of their last 10 meetings with Green Bay. Now, Cleveland State's biggest problem is their defensive play. The Vikes are giving up nearly 80 points a game when they travel this season, and they're also having a tough time defending the field goal on the road. They're taking on a Green Bay team who doesn't win a whole lot of games, but they certainly have had success offensively against Cleveland State in recent meetings. Green Bay's averaged over 75 points a game in their last 10 meetings with Cleveland State, and they're currently led by Donovan Ivory, who's scoring just about a dozen points a game. Meanwhile, teammate Emmanuel Ansong, he's scoring 11 points a game himself, along with 5 rebounds. Now, total-wise, Green Bay saw overs recently with Northern Kentucky, Wright State, and this very Cleveland State team. As a matter of fact, 7 out of these teams' last 10 gatherings got over the line. Meanwhile, Cleveland State, on the other side of things, they saw their last 7 straight outings all get over the posted total themselves. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Wisconsin, Green Bay, plus 10, and the over 136.5. Next contest I have for you, it is going to be Marquette versus Creighton. And that's going to be a 3 o'clock Eastern start time. Creighton's minus 1.5 with the total at 141. Now the Blue Jays are winning 75% of their home games. They currently find themselves in the middle of a 4-game winning streak. Now Creighton's been really tough on the defensive end of the court this year. And as a matter of fact, they're giving up just 63 points a game at home. And in addition to that, they're also shooting only 38% from the field there. And in addition to that, Creighton actually finds themselves in the top 20 in the nation in defensive field goal percentage. Now, when it comes to offensive production in this one, Ryan Hawkins is averaging over 13.5 points a game, along with 7 rebounds. Meanwhile, Alex O'Connell scoring a dozen points a game himself, along with 5 boards. And speaking of rebounds, well, Creighton is one of the better offensive rebounding teams in the Big East. They're taking on a Marquette school who's got themselves a losing record on the road. And in addition to that, they also failed to cover the point spread in their last 3 straight. And even worse than that, one more thing to add about this team here. One of those failures to cover I was just talking about, it was actually an outright loss to Butler, where they gave up 85 total points. And speaking of giving up points, the Golden Eagles allow nearly 72 points a game on the road. When it comes to the total in this one, Marquette saw 3 out of their last 4 ball games get over the posted number. They're also 60% to the over in their last 10 meetings with Creighton. Meanwhile, the Blue Jays on the other side of things, they saw 2 out of their last 3 get over the line themselves. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Creighton, minus 1.5, and the over 141. Next contest I have for you, it is going to be Northern Kentucky versus Oakland, 3 p.m. Eastern start time. Oakland's minus 4.5 with the total at 139. Now the Golden Grizzlies of Oakland are scoring a ton of points at home this year. They're actually averaging over 84 points a game in front of their home crowd. They're currently in the top 10 in the country in shooting from the stripe. And speaking of shooting the basketball, well, Oakland's currently making 50% of their field goals on their home court. When it comes to the offensive production in this one, Jamal Cain is averaging over 20 points per contest, along with double-digit rebounds. Meanwhile, Jalen Moore, he's scoring 15 points a game himself, along with 4 rebounds and 8 assists. And when it comes to defensive play in this one, Oakland's allowing only 66 points a game in front of their home fans. Now they're taking on a Northern Kentucky team who's got a losing record on the road. And in addition to that, they've been really lackluster offensively. Now the Norse, they're currently averaging only 65 points a game on the road. And they shoot only 39% from the field in that very same category. Now when it comes to the total in this one, 8 out of Northern Kentucky's last 13 road games fell under the posted number. They also went 60% to the under in their last 10 meetings with Oakland. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward... Oh, no, we got one more thing to add. Oakland has seen unders recently with Detroit, Robert Morris, and Wright State. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Oakland minus 4.5 and the under 139. Next matchup, it is going to be Memphis versus SMU. And that's going to be a 3. What the hell's going on over there?
My bad.
My goodness. I don't think these guys can hear anything I'm saying, but it's all right. I got to get a studio. That's on me. Next game, Memphis, SMU, 3 o'clock Eastern start time. It sounded like you rolled a body down the stairs. Memphis, SMU, 3 o'clock East. Memphis is minus 3, totals 146.5. But despite being favored by a bucket on the road here, the Tigers have really struggled with SMU in recent meetings. As a matter of fact, Memphis lost 7 out of their last 10 games against the Mustangs, and they averaged only 65 points a game during that span. That's what happens when you record videos in the middle of everything. Just right in the living room, and then complain about people being loud. Well, dude, you got to get your own studio or something. But anyway, when it comes to Defensive play in this one. The Tigers are allowing 72 points per contest on the road this year, and they're covering in only 33% of those road games. Now they're taking on an SMU team who won 7 out of their last 9 themselves, and they've yet to lose a game at home. SMU is currently 12-0 straight up as the official home team, and they're limiting their competition to just 39% shooting from the field at the Moody Coliseum. Now, when it comes to offensive production in this one, Kendrick Davis is averaging nearly 20 points a game, along with 4 rebounds and 4 assists. Meanwhile, Marcus Weathers is scoring over a dozen points a game himself, along with 7 boards. Now, when it comes to the shooting in this one, the Mustangs are in the top 25 in the nation in three-point percentage at home. When it comes to the total in this one, SMU is currently averaging 79 points a game on their home court. They also saw overs recently with ECU, Houston, and USF. Meanwhile, Memphis on the other side, they are 4-2 to the over in their last 6 themselves. I'm going to lean toward SMU +3 in the over 146.5. Next contest, it is going to be Rutgers versus Purdue, 5:30 p.m. East. Purdue is -12.5 with the total at 138. Now, Purdue got the W in 8 out of their last 9 ball games, and they've been virtually unbeatable at home this year. The Boilermakers are 14-1 straight up at the Mackey Arena, and they're in the top 3 in the country in shooting from the field. And speaking of shooting the basketball, Purdue's also making over 41% of their three-pointers at home. They're actually in the top 3 in the nation in offensive three-point percentage. Jaden Ivey's averaging 17 points a game, along with 5 rebounds and 3 assists. Meanwhile, Zach Edey's scoring 14 points per contest himself, along with 7 boards. When it comes to defensive play in this one, Purdue leads the entire country in defensive rebounding per contest. They're taking on a Rutgers team who may have to go to work here today without their leading scorer, Ron Harper Jr. He's currently battling a hand injury. And as good as Rutgers has been playing here lately, they're still covering the point spread in only 30% of their road games. Now, the Scarlet Knights' biggest problem is their offensive production. These guys are actually scoring only 66 points a game when they travel. When it comes to the total in this one, Rutgers is 70% to the over in all of their road games this year. When it comes to head-to-head meetings, 7 out of these teams' last 10 contests against each other got over the line. Meanwhile, Purdue, on the other side, they are 60% to the over in all of their home games this year. I'm going to lean toward Purdue, -12.5, and the over 138. Next contest, Washington State versus USC, 7:30 p.m. East. USC is -7.5 with the total at 133. But regardless of how good USC's been, they actually haven't been all too good covering the point spread. The Trojans failed to cover in 5 out of their last 7. They're also covering in just 35% of their home games. Now, the Trojans have also been terrible at shooting from the foul line. These guys are making just 65% of their free throws on the season. They're taking on a Washington State team who actually plays some of the toughest defense on the road in the nation. Now, these guys are allowing only 62 points per contest away from home, and they actually find themselves in the top 10 in the country in road defensive field goal percentage. And of course, when it comes to guarding the 3-ball, Washington State's also in the top 15 in defensive three-point percentage away from home. Now, scoring-wise, when it comes to the offensive end of the court, Michael Flowers is averaging over 13 points a game, along with 3 rebounds and 3 assists. Meanwhile, Tyrell Roberts is scoring over 10.5 points a game himself, along with a couple of rebounds as well. When it comes to the total in this one, Washington State has seen their fair share of unders this season. As a matter of fact, they are currently 68% to the under for the entire year. Meanwhile, USC on the other side of things, they saw 5 out of their last 8 fall under the line themselves, and those were unders against the likes of UCLA, Arizona, and Arizona State. I'm going to lean toward Washington State +7.5 in the under 133. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Mississippi State versus Missouri. And that's going to be an 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Mississippi State's -4.5 with a total at 132. But despite being favored by a couple of buckets here, the Bulldogs have been awful on the road this season. As a matter of fact, these guys have yet to get a win on the road. And not only are the Bulldogs 0-7 straight up as the official road team, they're also giving up 76 points a game in those contests away from home. Now they're taking on a Missouri team who still has a winning record at home this year, and they're actually covering the point spread in 62% of those contests. Kobe Brown is scoring 12.5 points a game, along with 7 boards and 2.5 assists. Meanwhile, teammate Javon Pickett, he's averaging double-digit points a game himself, along with a couple of rebounds. Now, when it comes to defensive play in this one, on the other end of the court, the Tigers are actually limiting their competition to just 67 points a game at home. Now, total-wise, Mizzou's gone 60% to the under in their last 10 outings. They also saw 6 out of their last 10 meetings with Mississippi State fall under the posted total. Meanwhile, Mississippi State, on the other side of things, they saw 5 out of their last 7 outings fall under the posted number themselves. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Missouri +4.5 and the under 132. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Pt.2. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, guys, happy Sunday to you. Best of luck to you. I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at Brockpage.com.